Crazies, you're in the lab. Lee here, and you saw that title too as well. We're talking about 8 spooky Halloween Mandela Effects to blow your mind, to get you going in this spectacular Halloween special. Yes, 8 Halloween Mandela Effects to blow your mind, get you going. Please remember that some of these Mandela Effects might not be new to you. They may be new to somebody else, so please respect that. Also gotta say that I know a lot of us Mandelians out there to do videos are doing Halloween specials, so you might see the reenactment of few or some, the difference of the differences. Respect it, enjoy it, because we all do different things in different ways too as well, so enjoy the entertainment that is upon you. Also, with that said, y'all remember to hit that thumbs up button, mess with this algorithm, subscribe too as well if you haven't, as well leave your comments down below so we can talk about these spooky 8 Mandela effects and other Mandela effects that we have boggled in our minds. Now, without further ado, let's get this going, man. Number 8 of the day, we're going to go ahead and start with the witches of the Salem witch trials. Yes, the Salem witch trials, where it's going to be number 8 of the Mandela effects. And we actually just played a game, The Dark Pictures Little Hope, which actually talked about the Salem witch trials and the witch trials that happened. But the Mandela effect in these is going to be, do you remember the witches being burned at the stake? Yes, 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 you heard me right. Did any of the witches get burned at the stake? Well, if you're like me, and like others of us, we have always been taught and always learned and always remembered that the witches got burned at the stake. Well, you're wrong. They never were burned at the stake. They never had been burned at the stake. And technically, the only witch that was burned at the stake was actually in Europe. In England was the only witch, was the last witch to actually be burned at the stake. The only witch too as well. They were always hung, drowned, and sometimes the men, the warlocks if you want to call them, were actually placed with stones. They were stone crushed, if you want to put it that way. And that is the fact. Yes, no witches were ever burned at the stake in the Salem witch trials. None of them at all. They were all hung or drowned, or like you heard me say, the warlocks, they got stones put on their fucking chest and it just crushed them. Right, the brutal killer, the one that made you play a game when you had to get out and save your life to learn a lesson of just what you have done in the corruption of your world, of your sins. And we're talking about Saul and that famous line he always asked basically his challengers or competitors, do you want to play a game? Well, if you remember that phrase the way I just say it, do you want to play a game? And do you remember the phrase as you see it on the screen, do you want to play a game? Well, you're completely wrong. Listen.
You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game. I want to play a game.
I want to play a game. That is right. You hear right there, ladies and gentlemen. I want to play a game. Well, I want to play a game with you too. How many remember that being the way it is? I want to play a game. Or do you remember him always saying and asking the contender, do you want to play a game?
I can fix this! I can save every...
You're all alone. You're in a town, in a state that has nobody in it because basically you destroyed everybody with the vaccine. And we are talking about I Am Legend, and we're actually talking about, well, the infected. And what did you call the affected? What were the affected called? What did you presume that the affected were? Now, if you're like me and many others, we remember this movie. We remember him running around with his dog, trying to talk to his talking to the mannequins. And then he finally sees some friends, as well as his dog gets bitten and ends up dying as well. Spoiler alert. But what chased him? Now, do you remember it being zombies like myself and like many others? Or do you remember it being vampires? A little quiz there for you. Well, or if you are saying zombies, Lee, there were zombies. Zombies were chasing. There were a whole bunch of damn zombies. They were the fastest zombies I've ever seen. Faster than the ones you see in freaking Resident Evil or in Zombieland. They were fast. They were like the T8s. They were crazy. Well, you're wrong. Yes, I said you're wrong. They weren't zombies at all. They are actually depicted as night crawlers, or vampires to be precise. As you see it right there, yes, they are called vampires. They're described as vampires eating flesh that's took in blood DNAs that were changed by the vaccine. They are vampires. Do you always remember them being vampires? Or do you remember them being zombies, just like I and many others remember? This is Halloween, yes, Halloween! Yeah, and that great classic movie, Nightmare Before Christmas, great Tim Burton movie, great depiction of really what Christmas is really about, anyways, if you look it all up. But we are talking about Zero, actually, himself in Nightmare Before Christmas, as I throw a picture of Zero up here for you right now. Does Zero look right to you? Does Zero look a little different? Does his nose look off? Well, if you are saying no, it looks totally right. You're right, actually. You are completely right. In this reality, Zero's nose has always been the jack-o'-lantern. Yes, the glowing jack-o'-lantern. But many of our realities, excluding mine, I always remember Zero's nose being a red little ball, kind of like he was a representation of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's how I remember Zero, but I'm completely wrong myself, because it has always been a jack-o'-lantern on top of his nose. It blows my mind too as well, because that whole Christmas Story thing was kind of flogging everything in it, and Zero was the dead dog, or you could call reindeer or whatever animal you want to go, but he was a dog that had a red nose because he was depicting Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But how do you remember Zero in The Nightmare Before Christmas? Do you always remember Zero having that jack-o'-lantern on his nose? Or do you remember it like I do and many others do, with the red nose, like the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
You feel like you punk?
Shoot me, motherfucker.
Oh yes, the classic scary movie series. Oh, just a wonderful spoof, scary movie, funny movie, all comedic parody movie of all time. And this one, I'm giving you a double hit of it too as well. Now, first one we're going to go off from really the first one. And that classic line when Marlon's sitting in there and he's smoking and he's all covered up and he's saying, "Oh, I see white people." Well, you already know what that says now. Listen.
Can I tell you a secret?
Sure, man.
I see dead people.
This shit is awesome.
Yo, son, you gotta roll some more of that shit up, son.
I see dead people. Not in my reality. Never, ever in my reality. Well, now in my reality in this spooky October, but it's never been that way for me. The joke, the line of that whole thing was always, I see white people. Not just because it was a parody from Sixth Sense for the boys saying dead people, but it was the joke because he was sitting around smoking with white folks all the time. Right there in that scene, and that was the line, I see white people, but now it's dead people. But the second part of this Mandela Effect for Scary Movie is going to be number 2. The greatest part line, the funniest things we've always said. You know what I'm going to say. Take my strong hand. But it's not no more.
You're gonna fall unless you take my hand.
No, give me your other hand.
Oh, my other hand isn't strong enough. You take my little hand.
No, get it away from me.
Take it.
Take my little hand. Blows my mind. It was never a little hand in this reality. It just makes me want to. But we already know that one. We always remember that take my strong hand, because it was the joke. It was the series. It was the thing. We always did it. We always said it. Our friends said it. We keep saying it till this day. Take my strong hand. But how do you remember these Mandela effects? Do you remember white people versus dead people? Or do you remember strong hand or little hand? 3, 4, better lock your door. Yes, we're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, and we're talking about Freddy Krueger himself. Yes, Freddy Krueger. Yes, he was burned in the house. That's not the Mandela effect. This one has to do about his appendages. Well, his hand, to be precise. Now, how many knives did Freddy have on his hand? Yes. Go ahead and count your fingers, too, if you want to. 2, 3, 4, 5. Did he have 5 knives, or did he have 4 knives? Well, if you're saying 4, well, you're correct in this reality. He has always had 4 knives on his hand. Yes, I guess you got 4 fingers. A thumb is appendage. If you take it off, you can do the little. But in my reality, and many other realities, we remember Freddy having knives on all of his appendices. Yes, you're right. Yes, you see a picture right there of Freddy Krueger with 5 knives on his hands. Yes, 5 on his hand. You see a picture of his hand that you could buy a toy. 5 knives. As well as you can actually buy the glove that has 5 knives, Freddy Krueger gloves. 5 knives on hands. But he's always had 4. As you see right there, he's always had 4. 4 freaking gloves, 4 freaking knives. Because he only got 4 fingers, but it blows my mind. But how do you remember Freddy himself and his glove and his knives? Do you always remember the 4 knives is currently in this reality that he has on his hand for his glove? Or you, like me and many others, remember him cutting it with the 5?
Can I have an extra piece of candy for my stupid brother? He couldn't come with us because he's sitting in a pumpkin patch.
Good grief, Charlie Brown. Yes, we're going to Charlie Brown and get The Great Pumpkin. One of those great classic just books, television show. It's just one of those great ones. Childhood of the 80s and 70s, and you just remember Charlie Brown and The Great Pumpkin. Well, the Mandela effect has to do with actually Linus and The Great Pumpkin himself. Now, thinking to yourself, you're sitting here, oh, this is great. I love this movie. He comes up, they're sitting in the pumpkin patch, and, well, the Great Pumpkin shows up. Linus faints, and then he just goes on. Right? We remember seeing the Great Pumpkin, right? Well, in this reality, to hurt your feelings, to spook you out, Linus never saw the Great Pumpkin. The Great Pumpkin never appeared at all. Apparently, it was just Snoopy. Snoopy appeared. Now, I do remember Snoopy appearing, but I also remember the Great Pumpkin showing up towards the end. Right after that, he shows up. Linus sees it. It's the greatest thing at all, but in this reality, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It only exists in my mind and my memory, like many others. We always remember the real Great Pumpkin showing up. But how do you remember? Do you remember it just being Snoopy showing up in the pumpkin patch? And, Linus faints and it never happens, kind of fades off. He sees Charlie Brown and he's like, I wish I saw the Great Pumpkin. Or do you remember him seeing the Great Pumpkin and he was just so happy at the end talking to Charlie Brown? You come into my den and disturb me in my rest. And I'm talking about Dracula for number 1 today. We are talking about Dracula, old school Dracula too, by the way. And one of the famous lines that's been quoted all over the place, memed and everything else. And you're going to hear me say it. You're saying it to yourself right now. I want to suck your blood, right? I want to suck your blood. Yeah. What if I told you he never said that? He never, ever said, I want to suck your blood. Never. He never said it. It was a quote that was never quoted. And how did we get that wrong? You see it right here. It was never a quote. It's a quote that was misquoted of a quote that's never been quoted. How can we do that? Where do we get I want to suck your blood from if it never existed? Many of us remember that. Many people remember him saying that. But in this reality, this alternate universe that we live in, this spooky times, Dracula never said, I want to suck your blood. But how do you remember it? Do you remember him always saying, I want to suck your blood? Or do you remember it the way it is in this spooky ass reality it is now? Him never saying, I want to suck your blood. Yes, 8 Halloween Mandela Effects to just blow your mind is now complete. You can now move on to your spooky Halloween and your spooky October as you proceed into the rest of this month. Man, if y'all did enjoy this at any time, y'all remember to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe because every bit counts, as well as leave me those comments down below what you thought about these Halloween Mandela Effects. Other ones you see too as well, because we can do a part 2 still within this holiday spooky season, and also other Mandela Effects that you see that you want to talk about as well. With that said, y'all remember to keep it spooky, keep your mind open, because you know those eyes will see everything in front of you. Y'all stay crazy.
Hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.